Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, one and all. Thanks for joining us in this edition of DevOps Practitioner series. We are in episode number 8. And I have with me a special friend joining all the way from France, Simone Jo Moore. Thank you, Simone, for joining us today for this edition of DevOps Practitioner series. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well today, thank you. It's very cozy in here today, a little bit of rain and overcast. So it's actually the perfect time to be sitting here chatting away with a friend.
Excellent. So, Simone, for today, the theme is about humanizing IT. I know that and just give us a view of your journey. And you've done a lot of things. And over the years, we have actually met in a lot of these conferences. We've done a lot of stuff of throwing snowballs and stuff like that. So tell us, for viewers, your journey that you span across different aspects from service management to DevOps, Agile, VRM, and stuff like that. And also what is your passion today that you are professing?
Wow. Yeah, you're right. It is a lot of years. It's a few decades. So I won't go too deeply into that. Snapshot bio, read LinkedIn. That's probably the easiest thing that you can do. But, really, my love affair with technology began quite early on. There's been a lot of technology shifts over my journey, from learning how to type on a manual typewriter to using telex machines and Murray codes and PABXs and then on to satellites and more. And, I guess my service and support career is quite long. Now as a consultant, coach and trainer, I Zoom along with everyone else. So, going from a manual typewriter to actually being able to sit remotely on your lounge with a cup of coffee is quite amazing. Our background includes HR, organizational change, complementary health. And so for me, I think the most fascinating tech is really the human brain. And that's what led me into areas like machine humanity and being the editorial director for the Era of Humanizing IT docuseries, writing about ethics and emotional AI, and doing a lot of research and focusing around that era.
Excellent. So tell us, for your viewers, what do you mean by humanizing IT? Because that's been your centralized theme for the last quite some time, that you're very vehemently voicing out in all social media channels. So tell us, what does humanizing IT mean?
Well, I think for me, as much as I really love the tech, I am a little bit of a geek. I will admit to that. And I do love my sci-fi. I don't know about everyone else, but I was pinned to my seat for Virgin Galactic's flight the other day. So I do love the tech. I love the imagination, what its potential is, what it can really do for us. But my drive is really to keep active that humanness that's needed in evolving our organizations, evolving the leadership and development approaches that we have, so that humans can flourish and have exceptional experiences with the technology, not be overridden by them. In the past, technology has sort of driven us to things. We've created something and we push it out there, and we want to change people to use it, rather than people discovering how it is that rather than technology defining us, how we can then define the technology, how we can harness it so that we can live as who we want to be, not the other way around.
Sure. And that brings up to the point when you say that you have to create leaders and look at the whole process from the beginning. Everybody talks about building a digital enterprise, but a lot of times when we look at them, they don't have a blueprint, they don't have an assessment of their readiness. So what is your take on organizational readiness towards making a digital enterprise? Is it that just you cling on to a tool or a technology, you become already digital enterprise?
Oh, definitely not. You will find that there are various organizations that will do the research around, are organizations ready yet, or where they sit in the world in comparison to their readiness. And that differs country by country. You've got your socioeconomic factors, you've got your cultural factors. All of these things play a part in how ready an organization is to be able to move forward. And I think what has been missing mostly is, I think there's a misunderstanding in some organizations. Are they optimizing or truly transforming? That is one aspect that I think needs to be addressed for most people. When I think about, the 3 R's, like if you're refining something, you're improving it, that we're not actually transforming it, we're improving it. Right. If we're re-engineering it, yes, sure, we're doing the same thing, but in a different way. So there's some parts of that's a combination, I think, of optimizing and transforming. But I think the ultimate is when you completely rethink, throw everything else out and completely rethink the way in which you work. Then we're starting to head in the right direction of being transformed. Right. So, it's not a technology-driven endeavor either, because, although we use the computation to help us make better decisions, first and foremost, it will always be cultural. And what we want to do is bring the math and the computation to this very, very messy and value-laden human affairs that we have, so that we have more objectivity rather than, invading the algorithms with human complexity. So one of the key things I like to look at, if we're going to have this disruptive culture, looking at 4 key areas. And you'll find this with the Institute of Digital Transformation. They have what they call a readiness framework. And there's 4 key areas in there. Operational sustainability. So, do you have a stable base from which you jump from? It's okay to be disruptive, but there still has to be a sense of what are you standing on so that you can take that leap forward. Your organizational agility. So how quickly are you able to react to change? Can you turn on the dime, or is it going to be a very, very slow, long, wide turn? But either way, the very fact that an organization takes the decision to make that turn, that in itself is, a really positive step forward. Then that's part of strategic agility. How well does your organization anticipate change? Because even if it's really large and it's slow to turn, you need to be able to see ahead and know what's coming to some degree, so that you can start maneuvering towards it, even if it's at a slower pace than what you wished. And then that disruptive culture is really about how receptive you and your people are to implementing that change. And for me, it's what I say. I always talk about the changing skyline of an organization. If I was to look at just that outline of how it looks now, right, but we'd like to see the outline shift. Well, that outline is only a reflection of the people within it. So once the people start to move and shift, then that outline will start to move and shift.
Great. I mean, that's a great point, Simone, and what you've talked about. So we all are talking about the 4th industrial revolution, and some people say even 5th. So I'll probably leave it to you. What does that intake now? I mean, what do you think? Where are we shifting? Is there a platonic shift that we are moving towards? DevOps, Agile, Lean transformations. Where do you think this 4th industrial revolution is heading up? And where do you see ourselves being? Where do you see ourselves being a part of this whole episode? Because it seems to be there's so many different changes that are happening at both at macro and micro levels. So sometimes you get overwhelmed with all these changes. So what's your take on this one? I
think there is, there will be there'll be a 5th. I think there'll be, I want to find out what's in the 5th and 6th dimension as well. That would be, but if we focus on what's going on in the 4th dimension, really, it's characterized by that fusion of technologies.
Right.
And I think there is starting to be a blurring of those lines between, human, the physical, digital, biological spheres.
Right.
And that's where it comes in. And I love looking at some of the incredible progress from a medical and health perspective, cyber physical systems,
right.
Where before, when you had, before when all you could have was a gloved hand to replace the hand you may have lost in a trauma, you now actually have, even where it's shaped like a hand, we only had the very small movements. Now with, deep machine learning and the way they're able to work with the nervous system of the body, now we're actually seeing individual movement. I've seen examples of where a drummer is now able to drum again, and I mean almost better than they did before.
Right.
So I think there's some amazing stuff that's happening, but the lines are definitely being blurred, and a difficulty. And if you watch, there's a great little short video from the World Economic Forum on this. What I found really interesting on their views of what is the fourth industrial revolution, it's very dependent on people's role and where they're coming from in their context. So, if you've got someone that's working in a motor factory, they're saying, hey, we just set the program. We come in to help the machines now, not the other way around.
Right.
If you're talking about somebody that's in university, they're looking at how do we use this so that we can create space for people to think more freely. Others are looking at it more from, now we can really dive into the whole environmental, social, diversity, equity, inclusion. We can use this now to help us, fill those gaps that have been there in regards to that. So I think everyone has a different perspective and context and it's a very human thing to do that.
Correct.
Their need about what this technology can do. So I don't think there's any one way yet, where, as all humans do, we're still feeling our way, I think, forward.
Excellent. So you have been talking a little bit about AI and emotional AI and stuff like that. So give us a bit of a context and aspects of what do you think is artificial intelligence? I mean, people have their own opinion around artificial intelligence, and that's changing the whole way of building a digital enterprise. It's got a lot of merits, and there's a lot more trend towards that. But let's give us a bird's eye view of what is AI and what are some of the facets that we can talk that is possible with AI.
Well, I mean, we can look at the traditional term, coined back in the 50s, and it was really talking about software that mimics human intelligence. Then, it was taken a step further, with the Turing test, can the machine actually fool a human into thinking it's human?
Right.
I thought it would be fun. I decided to ask Siri what she knew about AI. So what is artificial intelligence? And interestingly for me, that defined as the study of intelligent agents, right, any device that perceives its environment and takes action to maximize how successfully we can achieve our goals. Now that sounds to me to be very human. We do the same. This is our device. We perceive our environment, we take actions to maximize how successful we can be for our goal. So it's very interesting to try and discern that difference. I think a big part of it is, of course, the feelings, the use of emotional information that guides our thinking and behavior, how we adjust and adapt, because emotions are part of our data set for making decisions. And also to that ability for the way in which we experience, the way in which we think. So there's a big difference there, but probably my favorite, description of how to describe it was from Kirk Bourne. He was a principal data scientist at Booz Allen Hamilton. And he said it's not artificial intelligence, but actionable intelligence, or augmented or accelerated, even assisted. So for him just like for me now, just like him, it's my new A's of AI. I want to see how we augment or accelerate human intelligence, rather than say, oh, it's artificial, yes, it's fake, but rather than thinking that way, I want to look at the doing of.
Absolutely. And I think if you look at this whole thing, and you talked a little bit about emotional and humanizing, are we kind of becoming that machine slow by day, because you're talking about pipelines, delivery, and squads and tribes? So where is the emotions flowing around? I think we are becoming distant towards the level of emotions in IT. We're just saying that, okay, this is my sprint, these are my features, this is going to be deployed, boom, we're getting in onto that. So how are we going to change that dimension of emotions? I feel that we are shouting hard, but nobody is there to listen. That's my perspective. So I'm just playing.
Well, there are the scary moments where, for example, developers are the ones that are helping Alexa have emotions in her voice. That's a really weird example. You can actually Google that, guys, so have a look. Alexa's vocal emotions, because she can be sounding supportive and empathetic towards certain things. So you can say, oh, my football team just lost. Oh, that's so sad, and depending on how you're listening or how it that could sound really supportive, or it could just sound really sarcastic. I think there's lots of organizations doing some great stuff around emotional AI. One of them in particular I've been following very closely over the last few years, Affectiva. They're using visual guides and emotions and combining that with self-driving cars and a host of other areas. And they've probably got one of the deepest repositories of emotional captured facial expressions, and across 87 countries. So they're really doing their best to get that diversity in age and gender and ethnicity and culture and that type of thing across, because we all smile, we all frown, but that could be different things for different people, right? So that's one particular organization I follow a lot. There's another one that works purely on the vocals, which we use in cybersecurity as well, right? So, but this is about assessing emotion. So they've worked a lot around post-traumatic stress disorder, and using artificial intelligence to help diagnose the depth or the level of it using the rhythm and tone of the voices of veterans. Now, at the moment, they've reached around 89% accuracy in determining those emotional levels just from the voice. So I think, we're making some, behavioral signal processing is, becoming really quite good. There's ethical AI bodies that have also got, we talk about chatbots or the AI robot. So it's about, how are they being designed? So you talk about, well, we've got a pipeline, just get it out. Well, what's one of the features that people want? This ease of use. If I want to be able to express something, if you're going to give me voice commands, how well is your chatbot going to process that? How well have you got those human ethics in place so that we've know the stories of the things that haven't worked well and they've made assumptions? How are companies like, I watch a lot too, Gisetic in Mexico with their robots, doing some amazing things, but their robots are still robots. They're robots, but on the emotional level, they're providing expressions that people can respond to. So, I think as developers, we're still developing that into the functions, into the features. There's still a human being interacting at the other end. We're still having a human experience.
Right. So the final question would be in terms of what type of skills and roles and potential talent requirements come in with the AI? I mean, someone who is not technical or someone could be deeply technical, Do you think there is a kind of a trend towards upskilling towards that area? What kind of skills and roles or requirements are possible for people to get into AI? And there is different apps like AOps. You talked about emotional AI and stuff like that. Particularly for people in DevOps, right? Because people are just looking at, okay, how can I do this, automate this whole process, do some kind of auto healing, make sure that it is much more faster, efficient, and effective. How do you think an individual should go ahead on the AA aspect of it?
Well, there's a few different things in my mind in regards to this. First of all, is make yourself aware of the difference between reskilling and upskilling.
Right.
So upskilling, again, is an improvement on the skills you already have.
Right.
You're augmenting those skills, and you can augment those skills with technology. So whether it's the human side or you need more on the technology skills side, absolutely. But I mean, we've still got reports from World Economic Forum and places like that, that more than half of all employees are going to require significant reskilling.
Right.
In other words, learning something completely new, stuff that we've not done before. And so there's a lot of emerging skills in self-management. There's a lot of active learning. We've got stuff that we need to work on around stress tolerance and flexibility, the wellbeing programs. There's that side of it. So definitely a lot in the management side. Investors are looking very deeply at how well organizations can adapt from their current purpose into new purposes. So how employees can shift into these other areas. They need to rethink how they approach talent management. And I'm going to be very specific about that word, talent management. With my HR background too, and the way we work in coaching and recruiting, I really want to make an important point. We may call it human resources because that's the way it's always been called. But think of it this way. I'm not something that can be consumed and plundered like a piece of software, right? I'm not an asset in the sense that you can stick a red dot on me or a barcode on me. You know, I'm a human being, not a thing. Right. Also, too, I'm not human capital. You know, when we think about the financial organization of our the way we operate in tech, that, you know, we have our CapEx, which is our initial outlay, and then we've got our OpEx, right, the ongoing. Well, do you know what? You don't own me and you can't get more of me. That's it. So we've got to manage our talent just as if we were for Hollywood. I mean, think about the type of skill sets that our service desk people have, that all our operations people have, our technical architecture guys that sit down with the clients and talk to them about their requirements. You know, if they're really skillful and adapting the way they engage with emotional agility and really get to that future way of being, they'd be being paid a fortune. So as part of the research and what's come out of the reporting, one of the number one skills in the IT industry that's come out, creativity, originality, and initiative. Right. Emotional intelligence, active learning, critical thinking, complexity practices around problem solving, the way we do service orientation, how do we repurpose what we already have? So that's part of that, the innovation, the way we look at innovation. You know, I think these are things that are really important. We've even got skill sets coming into IT now that are completely outside of IT's original skill sets. We've got script writers. I mean, think about it. We write scripts, okay? Yeah. If we're writing a conversational script for a chatbot to have with a human being, who better but a script writer from, you know, film or something to do that? We have robo-psychologists. There are robots being sent into space with, you know, our astronauts, etc., that are becoming more human-like in the way in which they interact. So there's a lot of different skill sets out there. We're going to need people that can help train AI and the understanding of that. You're going to have data detectives, you know, deep science, you know, data science involved. So we're going to have a combination of human behavioralists, sociologists as well that are going to come into this space. I think the one key point, if we think about, like Frankenstein's monster, that was technology he was trying to create, right? He was trying to get past something. But, we can't outsource our responsibilities to machines, right? We can't just make it and walk away from it. So all the skills that it's required to not just create, but that ongoing management and evolution therein is still needed.
Excellent. It's been a pleasure. I think we can talk for hours, but then just being conscious of time, I think we had a great session on humanizing IT, looking at different facets of AI. I like the way that you talked about AI is not about artificial intelligence, it's about augmented reality. It's about accelerating from where you are. I think we need to look at it from a different pair of lens altogether, and then start to see how we can improvise it in our work of life. So thank you so much, Simone, for your time, and congratulations on being the woman in DevOps world. And I think you have a lot to offer for that. And can you just tell us quickly about the upcoming workshop that you're planning in July? Was it in 21?
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah, on the 21st of July, so it's not too far away at all, just over a week away, and you can access it through Eventbrite, but I'm actually running a workshop called Machine Humanity, Dangerous or Misunderstood. I start off by asking the question, if you were any robot in any movie, which one would you be? Right. Do you have one in mind that you would be, Suresh, if you were a robot?
I'm just thinking. I don't know myself.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to it. It's very interactive, and what we're doing is we're going to explore the context of AI, what that's all about, where we fit into that picture. We're going to talk about talent management and some of those roles and what that reskilling means, and also to create an AI personality.
Right.
And the challenges that go along with emotional and ethical AI. So anybody, whether you're in HR or you're already in tech, if you're curious about AI, it doesn't matter if you have a tech background or not, there's lots to take away from this, or if you're in the middle of your automation projects, it's certainly worth doing. But a key thing that anybody that attends the workshop also receives a discount code for the Cloud Credential Council's AI Foundation certification.
Excellent.
So,
excellent.
Yeah.
Well, we'll put some links around, Simone, on the thing for the people to join in, and I'm sure that they will have fun in attending. And I could vouch, knowing Simone personally for a long period of time, she has got that energy. She's bringing a lot of different elements that makes it a mind-blowing one. So I don't want her to open the cat out of the box, but I know you will have a fun. And thank you so much, Simone, for your time today. And I'm sure that we get a lot of people sign up for your course coming this 21st of July. Until then, have a great day, and look forward to seeing you in some of the conferences in future.
Thanks so much.